Michael? Okay, I'd like to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Elgin City Council on this 17th day of August 2021 at 6:30 PM. We'll go straight to roll call. We'll start roll call with Mayor Pro Tem Brasher.
Brasher here.
Ramirez here.
Vega here.
Gibson here.
Callahan here.
Ibis here.
Dennis here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Councilmember Maldonado notified us he would not be here today, and Councilmember Arriaga is not here at this time. I'd like to have a motion excusing Councilmember Maldonado and Councilmember Arriaga, who's just running a few minutes late.
So moved.
Second.
So the motion has been made by Councilmember Ibis, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Brasher. We'll start the vote with Councilmember Ibis.
Ibis, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Brasher, yes.
Ramirez, yes.
Vega, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Callahan, yes.
Motion passes. We'll go to invocation, and I'll do the invocation since Councilmember Arriaga is not here. If we'll bow our heads, please. We ask for strength for a strong back and clear eyes. Help us concentrate our thoughts and our actions to the task at hand. We know it will not be easy, but let us be confident it will be worth it. Let us learn to listen and not just hear, and let us not forget to lift our council and our community for the good of all. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's go to Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the Texas flag, please. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, welcome, everyone. City Secretary Jennifer, do we have any public comments? Okay, no public comments today. We'll move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Mattis, if you'll start.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got another round of new employees to introduce tonight. Pam's going to help us with that. Pam, you want to come up? If you got the list. As we've talked about, are you going to do it from there? Can you get on the mic? Cool, that's good. Well, go ahead.
I think so. Mayor, City Council, City Manager, we have 8 new employees with us tonight.
Oh, you got to stand up and wave or something so we know who we're talking about.
We have Mark Jardine with our Maintenance Department, Timothy Eubanks with our Streets, Clarence Perkins, Streets, Chris Anderson, Streets, Glenn Howard, Streets, Carlos Navejas with our Permitting Department, Mike Barron with our Utility Crew, and our IT guy is supposed to be here. Okay, and we hired IT.
Who was the IT guy?
His name is Steve Elliott.
He just started last
Last
week,
week.
and we'll have him at the next meeting. And I think a lot of you know, of course, know Charlie. He tried to think he could work a different job, but couldn't. He knew he couldn't stay away from the city, so he came back. But these are all the guys that you'll see out on the street when there's real work to be done. So appreciate the effort. Doing a great job for us.
Thank you very much, guys, for coming to the meeting. Know that the mayor and the council very much appreciate your hard work.
Oh, and Sue reminded me, we keep our connection to the Prince family going here with this, one of these employees too. I think that's mandatory for Elgin. We have to keep one member of the Prince family on staff.
Who is this?
He married into.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Just keep going, Mayor.
Yeah.
I don't really have a whole lot more to report on tonight, although I did ask if Chief Noble would provide just a little update. If you have kids in school, or if you were driving around town today, then you know today was the first day of school. And so we had some challenges both ways. And as we move forward this, again, it's another, we've talked about it for a while. Certainly, the school faces many of the same challenges we do, addressing growth. So just, I think it's important if people ask questions that we have all the council on the same page with the staff and PD about what's going on. So Chief, just kind of run down.
Chief, before you start, let the record show that Councilmember Arriaga arrived at 6:33 PM. Go ahead.
All right. In anticipation of protests at the schools this morning regarding the mask mandate that was implemented by the school district, we went ahead and last night made arrangements for the night shift to stay over this morning, and which was also fortunate, well, two things. Fortunate, one, that the protesters were limited in nature and was solely at the administration building and not affecting any of the school campuses. But the other part of that was that the traffic situations were so bad around town at all the schools. And we were positioned over at BTW because that is where we were specifically asked to be by the school district. And then our officers were busy over there. But nevertheless, the line of cars that were queued up to either this morning to drop off kids and then this afternoon to pick up, I'm sure some of y'all saw, just for Elgin Elementary, the line of cars was stretched all the way down 2nd Street from the school across Main Street and then across the railroad tracks. Then County Line Road was stacked up from 290 all the way up to Neidig, and then also on the other way on County Line Road back around onto 1100 all the way down to the soccer fields. The middle school was actually functioning because the school district had one of their new security officers out there directing traffic in place of work. We used to do that with the school resource officer. Anyway, well then in preparation for this afternoon, when I left City Hall, I mean, it was backed up all the way around Main Street, down 2nd, and all the way, of course, back all the way to the elementary school. And the intersection over here at 2nd and C was completely shut down. I had to bump my way through the siren and whatnot just to clear the intersection for anybody to go through. But it was all hands on deck from this morning and then until this afternoon, where we had the detectives out as well, doing the best we could in addressing the call load that we were handling and also being at the school as we could. Numerous calls to 911 with frustrated people being stuck in traffic. And and just trying to explain, today's the first day of school. We're going to have some issues, and it will smooth out over time. And whether there's just more people dropping their kids off and picking them up, I know, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know the enrollment is way up in the school district as well. And, the new kindergarten, kids starting school, so parents want to drop them off and be involved in that drop off and pick up process. But to sum up, it was a challenging day, and I'm glad we had the extra staffing on hand.
Yeah, I just think this is an important thing for us to understand as a community. This is what we're facing, but certain for council members, when folks contact you, because I'm sure they're going to, if they haven't started already about this. I think the important takeaways from this today is to keep in mind that we quite literally, as Chief said, had all hands on deck. We kept the night shift over to work overtime. We literally didn't. We put all of our officers toward this effort. And balancing that with the fact that, as council knows, the school district has decided to move away from school resource officers provided by the city and start to operate their own law enforcement agency, which I understand that decision, but it's definitely going to be a challenge for us moving forward because, again, for us, even though it's the school district and we want to provide all the support we can, we had a situation today where every part of our law enforcement operation was focused solely on the school. And there's a time when the city was small enough where we didn't have these big events. But at some point, strictly from a business standpoint, we can't devote all our law enforcement agency to the school or any single event, any single company, any business, and provide the service we need to citywide. So it's, as Chief said, I'm certainly hopeful that we had some first day of school impacts today that won't continue, but it's definitely a challenge for us moving forward. It's another example of what both entities are just facing and dealing with growth, and we're going to continue to have these challenges, but we're going to do everything we can to continue to support the school district, but obviously our commitment is to provide safety to the community at large, and that'll be our goal. So just want to make sure we're kind of on the same page about that. Like I said, I'm sure this will be talked about, and just want to make sure our message is consistent.
So as the city manager said, council, it's not a bad idea. I think we all had a feeling that our first meeting with the school board, joint meeting, was a successful and productive meeting. And it might not be a bad idea once this gets settled down into talking about maybe possibly having another one. Because the fact of the matter is it's not going to go away, especially on County Line and FM 1100. It's not going to go away. And even these other elementary schools, BTW and Elgin Elementary, they're going to face, maybe not as bad as County Line and FM 1100, but they're going to face the same kind of, the same kind of traffic problems. So it might not be a bad idea eventually, Tom, to get back with the superintendent and the school board president, and maybe a month from now or so, let's see, after the traffic settles and the traffic pattern settles, if that could be a topic maybe.
Yeah, and I think that point the chief has reminded me of talking about the other schools, mayors you have, is that, we've talked a lot, obviously, about County Line Road and the situation there, but the truth is, at least we have a specific plan from an infrastructure standpoint where we can address that. BTW and Elgin Elementary, there's not big infrastructure improvements we can make, I think, that's going to improve that. So certainly not in the short run, and we don't have any plans for that. So even if we are able to move forward in a relatively short time period with County Line Road, we're still going to have these issues at the elementary schools for a long time, as the mayor said. Yeah, I think once they get over the school opening thing, sometime between now and the end of the calendar year, it'd be a good idea to get another meeting with them. Thanks, Chief. Unless anybody had any other questions for the chief.
Council? Okay.
That's all I had under my report, Mayor, unless anybody had any questions for me on items not on the agenda.
Council? Anybody have questions for Tom? Okay, let's move on. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda includes non-controversial routine items that are considered to be self-explanatory by the city council and will be enacted with one motion, 1 second, and 1 vote. Any member of the city council may pull any item from the consent agenda in order that the city council discuss and act upon it individually as a part of the regular agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have 4 items. I personally would like to pull items number 2, 3, and 4 for discussion under new business. Does anybody have any questions on number 1, city council regular minutes? Okay, since I pulled 2, 3, and 4, I would entertain a motion to pass item number 1, and with the agreement that items 2, 3, and 4 will be moved into new business.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Brasher, seconded by Councilmember Dennis. Mayor Pro Tem Brasher, if you'll start the vote.
Frazier, yes?
Ramirez, yes?
Vega, yes?
Gibson, yes.
Arriaga, yes.
Callahan, yes.
Ibis, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Yeah. Okay, we'll start with it. Let's start with item number 2, what used to be item number 2 under the consent agenda, the consideration of requests to use City Hall grounds and parking lots for the Relay for Life event on Saturday, September 18th, 2021, from 10 a.m. to midnight, and waive fees associated with the event. The Relay for Life chairman and Tom and myself met, and we're very excited to be part of the Relay for Life. And Tom, if you'll give us a few details.
Yeah, Amy can probably answer more specific questions, but the Relay for Life is making a little change in what historically they've done this at the school, but they kind of have a new idea to kind of re-energize, I think, the effort and want to do something downtown, and are going to use the City Hall parking lot and parts of the facilities that we can make available to them, and so we think it's a good plan and a good idea, and we're, as the mayor said, the mayor and I have met, Amy has met with the organizers, and so we think we're really on the same page. They appreciate our support. This vote tonight is just a specific requirement to allow them to use the property and waive fees that would normally be associated with this, like we do for fire department, chamber of commerce, other community groups. So, but more details about the event about that, Amy'd have to fill that in. Is there anything in particular you want to add?
Are there specific questions? Because Tom's given a great overview. They'd be using the library and the City Hall parking lots and associated lawn area.
And in fact, there's a strange lady in the back.
Perhaps the organizer herself can address other specific questions.
Perhaps that's who she is, yes.
We can say, yay!
Hi, my name is Krista, and I'm chronologically challenged. You don't have to know me long to know that. Usually my timing doesn't work out like this. So, Relay for Life, fight against stupid cancer. It is very much community-based, community-driven. We are super excited to be looking at bringing it downtown, to let all of us really stand together to fight, to raise money for the American Cancer Society, but most importantly, to support the people who are fighting, to remember those that are stolen from us too soon, to celebrate with those who've beaten this stupid disease, and to fight back so that our children and our children's children don't have to fear the words, "You have cancer." In times past, we have had a budget to working with the ACS, but ACS has been hit hard just like everything else with COVID, and we have officially $0. So we are working with just donations to fund our event, but all donations that are made to ACS go directly to ACS. So what we're asking for is a waive for any fees that might be incurred through the city to be waived for us, to help us come together as that community to, again, fight this stupid disease. And of course, we really, really, really want you guys to come out.
Okay, I thought you were heading towards asking us for money there, Kristen.
Well, then there's that.
We don't want to.
Then there's that. But actually, just the support of the city is gigantic. It is so huge. Relay for Life has happened in Elgin since 2005. And cumulatively, since 2005, we've raised over $1 million. That's significant. I have a friend who says all the time, it's just going to take $1 to find the cure. We just don't know which dollar that's going to be. But with fees being waived, with the facilities, with the support of the city, that's a lot of dollars that we're going to be able to channel directly to the cause. It's dollars that we don't have to use for other things. But yes, if you would like to personally write a check to American Cancer Society, I would absolutely take it at any point in time.
Talk to me about a cake, and I'll donate it on behalf of the council.
Yes, please. A cake, because we will have a silent auction, and we know the whole town knows about Sue's cakes.
Quick question. Thank you for coming this evening, Krista. I'm just curious, with the seriousness of the pandemic, what are your COVID protocols, and do you guys have a plan B or contingency plan?
We do. We will follow, of course, the social distancing to the best of our ability. Masks will, at this point, we are not requiring them, but we are recommending. It's changing on a day-to-day basis. If we have to, we will very, very mournfully not hold it. It's what happened to us in 2020. We were not able to hold our relay.
We still went virtual at that point, and that's what we would do here if that was the situation, is we would go virtual. I would have the support of the American Cancer Society at the national level to help give us a platform in order to go virtual if we need to. But honestly, I'm gonna do a whole lot of praying between now and then that things come back into some kind of sense of, I don't even know what, but not this.
That's a good question. Anybody else have any questions for Krista? On behalf of the city manager and city staff and the council, well, maybe we should pass the ordinance first before I say that. Let's do that first. Anybody else have any questions for Amy or for Krista? If not, I'll entertain a motion to, I'm going to read the motion again. Consideration of request to use City Hall grounds and parking lots for the Relay for Life event on Saturday, September 18th, 2021, from 10 a.m. to midnight and waive fees associated with the event. I'll entertain a motion to pass that. And motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Callahan, seconded by Councilmember Ibis. We'll start the vote with Councilmember Callahan.
Callahan, yes.
Ibis, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Frazier, yes?
Ramirez, yes?
Gibson, yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Now I can say that the city is thrilled to be working with Relay for Life, such a worthwhile project. So,
Well, thank you all so very, very much. So September 18th, this is the place. We'll start at 4 o'clock.
okay,
All right, thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
The items number 3 and 4 that were under the consent agenda are pretty much standard contractual, but let's go ahead and read these. A resolution of the City of Elgin, Texas, authorizing the mayor to execute the Trinity Ranch wastewater service agreement with the Elgin Municipal Utility District Number 1 and making certain findings related thereto. Tom, if you'll give us some background on that?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a little bit of a unique situation in that this is all involves the Trinity Ranch mud. Those of you that have lived in Elgin for a while might know that this there were 2 muds approved out there a number of years ago and have existed, and legally they still exist, which is different from the Brixton mud or the Altessa mud we did when they created those at the time we did the development agreement. So in this case, there's actually were 2 muds. That's why there's 2 different items, 2 different development agreements, 2 different wastewater agreements. But those muds have now been put together by one owner and turned into the Trinity Ranch mud. And I think if you know where this is located, this was the original conceptual plan that was included with the development agreement. It's a very sizable development, includes over 1,700 homes at that time was planned for. The council's already approved a development agreement, and in that development agreement, it specifically contemplated providing wastewater services and made certain commitments on both sides. But given the uniqueness of the wastewater service in the sense that basically the MUD will be responsible for all other services except for wastewater services. This is why we have a separate agreement for wastewater services. And as council may recall, that we have a standard approach when we provide wastewater services. This is consistent with our other MUDs. Basically, the development is fully responsible for all the wastewater collection lines, obviously within their development. They're responsible to build and pay for the line that connects that system to the city system. They have to pay impact fees for each house that gets built for basically allowing, for the city allowing access to the system that we've built. And then on top of that, they have to pay for capacity in the wastewater treatment plant. Those payments come in the form, each time a final plat is filed, they'll continue to pay for that. So at the time of the original development agreement, the estimated cost that the development would eventually contribute to expanding the wastewater plant would be $4.5 million. So this agreement is consistent with the others that we've done. Excuse me, go back the other way. Dang it, now I'm really screwed up here. So this basically is a routine, but it just, it has all the technical issues relating to wastewater services itself. So I just not really relative to this agreement. I can tell you that we anticipate the development starting initial site work soon. We still have to work out issues relative to transportation improvements and traffic and safety upgrades. But again, given the circumstances of the existing mud and what have you, this, if I can get this to work. The area up here that enters in where Swenson Boulevard there comes in by the general store in Swenson, they can proceed with maybe the first 100 homes in this area, maybe 100 to 200 homes before they make other traffic and safety improvements. But again, this is something that the city specifically negotiated in their development agreement. They've got to make they've already made a sizable commitment for traffic and safety upgrades, which likely will include a traffic light at 290 and Swenson Boulevard. But those details have yet to be determined, and council has yet to vote on those specific issues. But they're ready to start at least the initial part of the development. So I think that's an important note to understand. Obviously, this concept plan is pretty intimidating as far as the number of houses, particularly in that area. This is the only significant residential development of all the growth we have happening in Elgin. This is the only development that doesn't have direct access onto 290 or to County Line Road, where we already have a plan for expanding that road. So certainly the traffic issues are, I don't want to say they're a concern, but they're certainly something we have to deal with before the full development will be built out. So, but with that, the action tonight is the wastewater agreement that's really just a routine next step that was committed to as part of our development agreement.
While you have that up, Tom, have you heard, has Trinity lowered their initial house
Not
considerably, or no?
No.
You haven't heard
They have
that?
not. We haven't
Okay.
heard that. Now, we have heard, I'm not sure that they have, they're still working with different builders, contemplating different projects. So the development agreement allows them to make changes in that number, kind of both ways to some degree. But
Okay.
obviously, I think it'd be hard to get more houses on this particular plan, but
Yeah, that looks like it's pretty well packed there.
I think that's the other part to recognize in this situation, just is that with our other MUDs and our other development, we had a different level of, frankly, the city was in a position where we had operated from a stronger negotiating position, because this MUD had been approved years ago, not by the city, but by the state. It kind of put us in a different situation where I believe we got the best deal we could have gotten out of them, because it is something they could have went ahead and built without any kind of development agreement with the city.
Okay, Council, as Tom mentioned, the ordinance that we're looking at, though, is not that. The ordinance is the wastewater
That's right.
agreement.
Strictly the wastewater part.
So, and it's pretty, from what I could tell, it's pretty standard that, contracts that we've done previously as needed, so.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we've done here that we, frankly, have had, as much as we've got going on, we've had other conversations with other potential developers about other land, about other MUDs. But we, for those council that were here, know we put a lot of effort into the development agreement we did with Brixton, and we've kind of used it as the standard. And so now we have the three big MUDs that are operating all have the basic terms are the same in each case. So it helps us to be consistent with how we're dealing with developers.
So do we have any questions or comments to ask Tom? If not, I'll entertain them. Go
I have
ahead.
a point of question on the motion. Since these were on the consent agreement, and they are book matched motions, can we not couple them back together under one motion?
The two MUD 1 and MUD 2?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if that's,
It's actually two separate contracts. So it's a lawyer thing. We did two different development.
I guess to be safe, let's just go ahead and do MUD 1 and MUD 2 as two different votes.
Okay.
And that way we don't have to worry about it.
That's right.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to pass that ordinance as discussed.
Also move.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Dennis, seconded by Councilmember Adiaga. We'll start the vote with Councilmember Dennis.
Dennis, yes?
Fraser, yes?
Ramirez, yes?
Vega, yes?
Gibson, yes.
Arriaga, yes.
Callahan, yes.
Ibis, yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Let's go straight to the next MUD, which is MUD number 2, and basically it's the same, I know it's the same contractual, but did you want to add anything to it?
No, you're right.
Yeah.
It's the same. For all practical purposes, it's the same project. But because there's two MUDs, we need to
Okay.
have two agreements.
I'll entertain a motion to pass as discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Brasher made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Dennis. We'll start the vote with Mayor Pro Tem Brasher.
Fraser, yes?
Ramirez, yes?
Vega, yes?
Gibson, yes.
Arriaga, yes.
Callahan, yes.
Ibis, yes.
Dennis, yes?
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Council. Moving on in the agenda, we're going to go to new business. Resolution by the City Council of the City of Elgin, Texas, approving an economic development agreement between the City of Elgin Economic Development Corporation and Jericho Manufacturing Incorporated, and authorizing the mayor to approve the agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, actually, we wish we had a whole new project to talk about tonight, but it's really just Jericho has decided to exercise their option under the existing agreement to buy another tract of land. So that's what really the formal approval is about.
Yeah, you're probably all familiar with Jericho. They're a local company here from South Korea. They make semiconductors for Samsung and so on. Doing some major expansions right now. You guys approved an agreement with them in the past to close on this 5 acres here. And so as part of that deal, they had an option for 1 year to purchase the piece of property that's highlighted there, lot number 6. So they're moving forward on that option. Again, it's going to be a performance-based economic development agreement. So if they don't perform what they're supposed to do, then by contract, we can purchase the land back at the price that we sold it to them for. So what they're looking at doing is constructing approximately a 20,000 square foot building on the 5 acres. And they'll basically a value of about $1.5 million. And they'll install about $500,000 in new equipment. And they'll employ 10 full-time employees, ranging between $15 and $20 per hour. So it's a great company. It's a local company. This is the expansion that they're doing. They're going to be actually working on probably both of these lots at the same time. So they want to bring in the heavy equipment, and then they have to build another 20,000 square foot in the first lot. So they'll bring in all their moving equipment at the same time, which will save them some dollars to do that. So pretty excited about it. We're going to sell it to them for $217,800. So that'll be some income coming into the EDC, which will help us construct the roads that we are contractually obligated to construct out there. So if there's any questions?
So Jericho is going to have 2 expansions going at the same time?
Yes. They'll be expanding on this lot here, per the contract, and then this lot here, per the contract.
They're going to expand on the one we approved previously, and the one, and this.
We feel that they felt comfortable doing a 20,000 square foot building. It may actually be bigger. We're hoping that it will be bigger, but we all felt comfortable. The EDC felt comfortable. Just to let you know, sorry, the EDC approved this on our last meeting on August 10th, so unanimously. So thank you, Forrest and Sue. But I'm crossing fingers that it'll be larger. I've seen some site plans. They're not public yet, but we're hoping it'll be a little bigger than the 20,000, but we'll see.
I'm a little surprised that it's such a minimum job Only 10?
It'll be 10.
Is it a warehouse or,
No, they'll be actually producing semiconductors in there.
so that's just a minimum figure maybe?
That's a very, very low.
I
minimum
think that's,
conservative figure.
that's important to clarify on this, and every one of these deals we do,
It's minimum?
the developer is making a specific commitment that, as Owen said, is subject to a clawback if they don't make that. So of course, they tell us usually half of what they're
Yeah,
really going to do. So yeah, I think that's an important point to make, that it's likely to be a whole lot more than 10 jobs. It's likely to be a bigger building, but that's the minimum commitment they've made.
Mayor,
Yes.
just for those of you on the board that don't know, they're a very well-established company in Elgin. If you're not for sure where they're at, they're just off 95 North, right on Magoni Lane, in a building back there. They're kind of hidden, but they've been here for a long time. So you know.
In that sense, this is a true expansion too. They'll keep that facility going.
Oh, yeah, they'll be
where
keeping
they're
that.
at. So-
And they
so
actually
they're
have
not
land
really-
in Austin that they could have gone to. When we started talking to them a year or so ago, we said, hey, we have this business park, we're going to open this up, we're going to get some roads into it, we'd love you to stay here. And they moved forward to stay here.
So this is a nice plum. They're going to keep their current facility and be working on 2 new ones.
Yep.
Okay.
Mayor, if we could, before we vote, Owen also, just, this is kind of a new picture of what's going on out there. He thought he'd just share with you real quick,
Sure.
just other activity that's going
This
on.
is the Jericho property we closed on. This is the one that we're under contract right now. That hopefully you guys will approve tonight. This is the one that you approved 2 meetings ago, I believe it was, with Carlay, with the 65 new jobs. This is the plastics company that you guys agreed upon, which I think was like probably 4 months, 5 months ago. They're gonna go ahead and purchase lot 4A, but they're also gonna go ahead and purchase lot 4B, which was an option lot for them. So they decided, well, they'll probably just need to get it now, so that's some more dollars. We're working with, we're in a discussion right now for lot 1 here, which is a 5-acre lot, and that's with local companies. We're hoping that we can help them expand. We have a draft contract, actually have a meeting tomorrow with the folks here to do possibly some multifamily in that area. And then we have a draft contract for this corner right here, which we're hoping will be added to the dental office and some more retail. And then other discussions for this area, which is a 6-acre lot. We're another with a local company to do kind of restaurant and expand there and have some retail in that area too. So that's kind of what we're working. And actually this week, lot 11 and it's 11, 12, I think it is. It's basically 10 acres. There's another South Korean company looking at those 2 lots, and they just sent me in an offer on them. I haven't talked to my board members about that yet, so just got it in this week, guys. So we do actually have some people looking at that too, so there's a lot going on out there right now.
So what we have, council, is roughly 200 or so decent paying jobs coming in the next year, next year, 2 years.
Yep.
Where some people from Elgin may not have to drive to Austin to have a decent, steady paying job. So that's thank you to the EDC and Owen and the board and for working on that. And we need more retail as well as the manufacturing. We need more retail out there.
Yeah.
As
And
well.
we're keeping this area here, this north, this area for the retail. We won't go too much far south along Roy Rivers to go to the retail, so that's better off commercial and business park down in that area.
Mayor.
He said
Yes.
the magic word, restaurant. Catch that earlier.
Actually, I didn't hear him say that, Matthew. Did you say restaurant?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Okay,
Magic ears, they're really.
okay.
It's all confidential now, we have no
Yeah.
document, no
It's-
contract signed with. so
It's
don't try to
good.
say too much.
Council member, it's good.
It's
Yeah.
just like we've talked about, all that will come together.
Yeah,
The-
it's coming.
All of it comes because of the housing and the rooftops. As we continue to see that happen, there's no question retail is going to come. There's no question that all the things we're going to need. But as the mayor said, job growth is something you kind of have to work at because they will go wherever the best deal is. So,
That's true.
so this is, yeah, we're seeing things break pretty quick out there. And so hopefully we'll close on these other deals.
Yeah, we're in competition with a lot of other communities, So we do our best to get these deals in here, and our board does a great job, and you guys support them, which is great. We really appreciate that too.
Okay, any more questions or comments for Tom or for Owen? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pass item number 1 under new business as discussed.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Brasher, seconded by Councilmember Dennis. We'll start the vote with Mayor Pro Tem Brasher.
Fraser, yes?
Ramirez, yes?
Vega, yes.
Gibson, yes.
Arriaga, yes.
Callahan, yes.
Ibis, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Okay, we knew we'd come to this one. Item number 2 under new business. Review and discussion of the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 annual budget and property tax rate. And council, we've had roughly a week, I'm sorry, longer than a week. We've had 2 weeks that this budget was passed to us, and I know that we've all started looking at it. We've had some meetings, initial meetings. There's no doubt that, well, I guess I should see how you feel. In my mind, there's no doubt that we're gonna have to have at least one work session. I'd like to hear from you guys, what you're thinking. What's your initial thoughts about what you're seeing in the budget and what you may have questions on? I was talking with the city manager. He said that none of us emailed him or myself with the initial concerns that we may or may not have with the budget. But I hope that in the next week, in the next few days, that as we sit here and look at this, we do email myself and city manager so that when we do have a budget work session, if you guys feel like we need to, we'll have specific items to talk about.
Mayor, for those that are
Yes.
new on the council, why don't you explain what a work session looks like?
Okay, so what it means is we're going to get together, not on a council night. We're going to get together and we're going to have topics and areas that will be already have emailed to the city manager and myself. And the city manager will then take those topics, talk to his staff heads, and ask for, like if I'm asking for supporting documentation, for instance, the $500,000 we're going to spend on vehicles in the budget. I'm looking at the budget. I'm so pleased. I see money for change, which is something that when I was on the council for 4 years in 2010 through 2014, we were broke. We were getting sued by everybody and their brother, and we were broke. So when I look at this budget, I'm going like, oh, so I see a lot of good things. I see people that we're going to hire that we need to hire. I see, but I have questions. I have concerns. For instance, the $500,000 we're going to spend on vehicles, the 4 patrol vehicles. Yeah, there's no doubt we're going to need those. But some of those other vehicles, I would like some more supporting documentation to see why is it that we need those vehicles. So that's one of the things that I'm going to email the city manager so he can have ready when we do meet together at our work session. So it's an opportunity for you to look at this budget. If you want to talk with your partner and see, maybe y'all can email them in together or send them in together or do it individually, whatever you want to do. But let's take advantage of this budget because Elgin has never, I'm not going to say never. Tom, you can probably fill me in, but this is a good looking budget. But there's a lot of pluses in here. But I also have some questions. And as a council member and as a mayor, I would like the questions answered. And Tom and the staff will do that once they know what our concerns are. So that's the important thing. Does that answer, Forrest, what you were?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Yes, Sue.
Our group, we had a good first meeting, and I think we were able to hash out some things, but we all agreed that one work session would be good. And I am saying right now, even though I did discuss with the city manager some of the things that were brought up, I was really busy and I neglected to get our email, but I have all the notes and I will get our email and I'll copy the people that were in our group. So we have something to start on with us.
Okay, so I think 4 of y'all met, didn't you? Okay. And I agree. I mean, I have notes left and right here, but Tom didn't get any of them. There was just some scheduling conflicts, but but we had this opportunity now. Councilmember Baker, do you have any
I
comments?
just wanted to comment as well to clarify that Arthur and I did submit, not so much questions, but certainly some things related to
Okay.
the budget, so that
Okay.
was done. Also, I just wanted to also add too, that fortunately in the last couple of years, these are the kinds of budgets that have been presented to us, very comprehensive, thorough, well thought out. So fortunately, this is nothing new, only the fact that from my perspective, seeing a couple of comprehensive budgets over the years is that this certainly presents the growth, the opportunity that's here, as you're saying. But again, I look forward to diving in with the work session so that new folks, as well as perhaps yourself, Ron, can certainly see how far we've come in the last couple of years and where we're headed.
Okay. So do we agree, council, that we would like to have one more work session? Do we need to make that decision tonight?
Well, I've got a couple comments.
Yes, go ahead,
I'd like
Tom.
to go. Good, Mayor. As the mayor said, we've just wanted to recap a couple things that we've talked about already, but the mayor's exactly right. This is a budget that is easily the largest budget ever in the city of Elgin's history, and that is because our revenue growth is significant, we have certain challenges. And one thing we always talk about at this level with the council, if the group's motivated, we can literally go through every page of the budget and talk about every line item, but typically we've not done that here in Elgin, but the staff, just say that as an example of what the staff is prepared to do if that's what the council wants, because the mayor's exactly right. We don't want anybody having any of the council members having any questions about anything in the budget. It's, as we all know, particularly even I think our new members know, that this is the most important thing we do every year, because it dictates pretty much how the rest of the year is going to go. So it's important that we focus on that. But one thing that I do think is important for the policymakers as far as the council goes, and kind of really the issues to be focused on is shown by this analysis here, that it's basically predicated on the assumption that as long as there's not a push to cut the police department in half or double the size of the police department or cut the tax rate in half, basically if we start with the premise that we want to continue existing operations as they are and grow those operations, well, then 85% of the budget is kind of already set. As you might imagine, we're in the service business, so by far our of the general fund budget, I should say, by far our biggest expense is personnel and salaries and benefits. So I think for the policymakers, I suggest the real things to focus on, frankly, are the new things. What are the new things in the budget moving forward? And just break down this percentage, as you can see, the new personnel that we're adding represent about 5% of the budget. And the new programs we've talked about, I want to remind everybody about here in a minute. Remember, the budget is predicated on what will actually be a reduction in the tax rate number. But remember, this is a convoluted system. We're still going to advertise under the state law that requires us to say we're raising taxes, but that's only because we're getting more money. But the tax rate will actually go down. Staffing is, again, as the mayor said, I think this is, again, if we're not thinking about cutting back, then really the question about staffing is the new positions. And obviously we can talk about all those as we move forward. I think some of them are pretty self-explanatory, but at the same time, I'd recommend we kind of focus on those. And then these set-asides that I said about before, the transfers out of the general fund are basically being proposed as three big items. The $300,000 set aside to begin the planning efforts on the CO projects we identified earlier this year that have not started planning. But likewise with these next two I'm going to talk about, keep in mind that at this point, all we're suggesting is that this is a set-aside number. Exactly how we'll spend that money on what projects, when, and what get priorities, that's a different conversation that council would sign off on as we proceed with that. Likewise, now the equipment fund, as the mayor said, we do have a very specific list of equipment that makes up that number for the 475. So we definitely can provide that information and go over those equipment needs. But the street maintenance fund is another kind of new idea we have about making, frankly, a historic commitment out of operating funds, $500,000 to address street maintenance in town. But again, at this stage of the budget, all we're suggesting is we set aside that amount. There'll be a very deliberate and comprehensive process for deciding exactly what streets will get addressed with these funds next year. And one thing we're going to talk about in that process is also the city has historically only done seal coating to its streets in town, which for a fairly obvious economic reason, you can do a lot more seal coating than you can with asphalt. But asphalt is obviously a more permanent solution, has a lot longer life. Problem is we'll get fewer streets done with the money. So we want to have that conversation with council and maybe talk about, should we start on some of our more higher traffic streets? Should we make the commitment to asphalt instead of just doing seal coating? So what streets get done when and how that, again, that's a different conversation we'll have down the road. So as you look at it, I just want to make sure we're not suggesting that we're making definitive commitments for either the set aside for the CO projects or this at this point in the budget. And again, we'll get back to this, that's what I'm saying, that 11% of the general fund is just associated with those three main things. So again, obviously we can answer any question about any number that's in the budget, but I think from a policy standpoint, again, if we're talking about for the new experience, I think those are the bigger issues we'll be looking for that really are impactful in how we're increasing the budget. So with that, I did want to. So speaking of the work session, Mayor, this was kind of the schedule that we had fleshed out initially, just trying to kind of stay to Tuesdays. So I don't know if we'll be ready to meet next Tuesday for the work session. But I would say that the September 7th and 21st are kind of hard dates for public hearing and on the tax rate and the budget and the first reading and second reading of the appropriations ordinance. Now, that doesn't mean, again, that's why the other work session was plugged in there in between. We can do the first reading of the ordinance and still make changes before the final adoption if we want to do that. So unless we want to go to another date, again, when we set this schedule last spring, we kind of just tried to stick to a regular Tuesday schedule. So I'm just.
Which is fine with me.
Okay, well, if we can be ready, the staff can certainly be ready next Tuesday. I would say, as you said, I need to get, it looked like a big pile of notes you had there.
I have a big pile of notes.
I need to get all those before Monday, I guess, as I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we should shoot for maybe Friday noon or Thursday close of business or something like that.
Okay.
That gives us another 2 or 3 more days to get our notes together and shoot off emails to the city manager and myself, so that staff can be ready to answer our questions. Are we okay with meeting next week? Next Tuesday? 6:30, same time? Is that what we have up there? We don't have a time, do we?
Yeah, and Mayor, we talked about this too. I mean, do you want to meet here, or would you rather meet? We could do I assume if the rec center's open, Amy, we could use the meeting room and do more of a roundtable thing if you want to do it that way, or we could do that right here.
Either at the rec center or at the mayor council office. We could meet there as well. If the rec center's fine.
Well, it's got to be a public meeting, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Of course, the other part about doing it at the rec center is we wouldn't be on TV or anything. But to your point, the work session should be more of a conversation, not the same level of formality.
Right.
I guess you and I can talk about that and decide that.
Okay, so look for an email.
I think when we met at the rec center before, it was more conducive to the.
Worked out well?
To the content.
Yeah. Which I also liked having it on that Saturday morning. It was more casual, and I felt like it was just easier to kind of get together, there's no rush because it's not late, and if we have to have extensive conversations.
Well, council, I'm open to anything, so it's just, it's y'all that will set when the next, I mean, the city manager and myself will let you know, but I mean, it's basically y'all telling us we'd like to meet on,
I guess in the same vein, maybe everybody could think about it. If you have a strong opinion, let us know in the next day or so, or do you want to try to decide that now?
no, I mean, that's fine. We need to get the email out to everyone soon, though. Okay, so if you have a date that you know I'm gonna be out of town for 2 days or something similar, you might let us know so that we don't plan it on that type. But if you have a date that you said, I would really like to meet on, just shoot a quick email. But we'll let you know within a day or two. But it needs to be done, so.
Can I just further clarify? So we're looking at either next Tuesday as an option or Saturday, the following Saturday as an option. Can we be clear on that? Just,
I'm looking at Tuesday. Councilmember Arriaga brought up Saturday, which I said I'm fine with if that's, what Saturday were you looking at, Councilmember?
Yes, it would be the following
that's
Saturday. I
27th.
think this weekend is too soon, but I'm okay either way. I just felt like it was easier to have extensive conversation
Okay.
that way.
Tuesday's rough for me.
Tuesdays are rough for you,
Well, that Tuesday.
that Tuesday?
It's my anniversary, sorry, we had plans.
so that Tuesday's the 24th and then the Saturday's the 27th. Are those the two options that we need to consider to get back to you on?
That's what it looks like, yes. That's what it looks like. Did everybody get that? Okay, so let us, if you have a certain time or date that you, a certain day that you want to do it, let us know. Otherwise, we're looking at Tuesday, the 24th, or Saturday, the 27th, 28th. Okay. So does anybody else have any questions or comments on this item number 2 under new business?
I guess I would just add, Mayor, that it also doesn't mean anybody you don't have to wait till then. If you have a question or want to talk to me about something or Misty, we can be available to do that anytime in between.
Okay. So we'll table item number 2. All right. If that's the case, then we'll go to executive session. There is no executive session tonight. Going on in the agenda, we go to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements to make? Amy, do you have any announcements? Okay.
All eyes go there.
Okay. Well, I'd like to announce that next week, I believe it's next week, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to have our initial meeting for a Dia de los Muertos festival that the city will participate in, Day of the Dead festival. And there's a meeting next week, Amy? Yes. So it's our initial meeting, and we'll certainly fill the council in on more details when we know them. But, okay. I'd like to announce that, Michael, did we do some work at the Little League field this past week? So the city and some of the coaches for the travel baseball teams got together, and we were able to work out some nice benefits and some nice additions to the Little League field that was there. And so it was a good example of cooperation between the city and, in this case, the travel clubs that use the city field there. So it was the batting, they've done a batting cage now, which, believe it or not, it was just a big old hot mess before. And they did a whole lot of work, and I'm talking about the coaches. And it looks like a nice batting cage that all teams would be able to use that rent the field.
Yeah, I'd just like to say it went well, and Mayor Ramirez is really the one that made the initial connection for us, and we actually hope that this partnership will grow into some other projects. Seem to have a group motivated to want to volunteer to help. And whenever we have volunteers, we try to find a way to put them to work. So yeah, we feel good about, hopefully this will just be the first thing we did.
Okay. Let's move on to council members. Do we have any other business to discuss?
Mayor, I guess I might just say don't forget, we've got the Sesquicentennial project, we've got the De los Muertos festival thing. So we're, all right, now look.
Okay.
Look, I think I do pretty good for being
You might
white
say-
boy from Ohio, you know. I'm
You might
getting
say
better.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead, there you go. I'll just give it the Anglo. But the more events we have, the more volunteers and support we need. So for council, encourage anybody that expresses an interest, we'll find a slot for them too in those, with those projects.
I meant to contact someone about that.
Say it again?
I meant to contact someone about being involved in that.
Okay.
So we're still got time for everybody to get involved. So
Okay.
let them, me or the mayor or Amy, obviously, we'll find a way to involve them.
And I don't, council, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but I'm excited. I'm excited by seeing the city working with the citizens to get some improvements made in areas that we can do. We can't do everything, obviously, but if we can, let's do it. And I'd like to see the cooperation that's happening. It's a good feeling. So, anybody else have any announcements? Anybody else have any business before I adjourn? If not, I adjourn this meeting at 7:33 PM.
Yeah.